There's been a long subversion of the traditional conservative ideals by the left. The idea that progress marches leftward, and only marches leftward, is a concept that seems to make sense if you don't think about it. You look throughout American history, for example, it's been a gradual decline, yes, I meant decline, of moralistic ideals leftward. And any form of conservative win during these times is then subverted by the left, attributed to the left, and then made a shell of its former self by the left. The conservatives then stick their ground on the position that was made there, try to argue with the left, it moves left, and then the right argues from that position again. One might attribute it to that progress naturally leads leftward. I disagree. And I think any conservative in their right mind should disagree. And not just as in we need to stick with what we have now. There are things in our past that we have forgotten purely because of the idea that the left has attributed to themselves. They're called progressives. The way the words are phrased actively works in favor of the liberal. It seems a little odd, don't you think? What are we conserving? What are conservatives actually attempting to conserve in the United States? We're just trying to conserve a leftist paradigm instead of working towards something from our past that actually mattered. A Christian tradition of our definition of freedom. Going into that, what is the definition of freedom that comes from the left? Well, it's a definition of freedom that basically any liberal or so-called modern Republican conservative or modern conservative in European nations and such would come to: freedom from your oppressor. And that usually means a corporation or a state or reality, existence itself. The problem with that definition is that it does not account for the internal. It doesn't account for the issues that you have inside of you. The demons that plague you, I guess you could say. Let's give an example. There's a man who works as the president of a nation. He controls everything. He has all the power, all the money, wealth in the world, can get any woman he wants, lives in a mansion, and can say one word and kill somebody without any regrets. And now you have the lowly dock worker. He's a family man, loves his life. He's not rich. He doesn't have many worldly possessions, but he is free from all vices. The president, however, is not. He drinks, he smokes, he has sex with many women, emotionally detaches himself from other people, and has no connection to God. Which person is less oppressed? It's the dock worker. The reason why is because your internal vices can be just as oppressive, if not more, usually more, almost all the time are more oppressive to one's person than the external, such as a corporation, another person, a government. So although the person that is a dock worker has an oppressor, that is the president has many oppressors, many people, and many vices within him that attribute towards a downward spiral of moral fortitude and character, and makes him less and less of a good person. It's a very simple idea. An idea that has been plainly forgotten in any form of the matter in modern conservatism. Other YouTubers, such as Settlers Lament, have brought up this concept, which I would recommend you watch his channel if you agree with anything of what I'm espousing now. However, digressing back to the point, freedom should not be freedom from an oppressor externally. Freedom should be freedom mostly from the internal. The issues plaguing yourself. You can be oppressed by another, and that is a thing, and that is a bad thing. But you can also be oppressed by the things inside of you as well, and that can be worse, and usually is. Many tend to blame external forces for their problems, when usually it's them. There's a very old concept of 99 or 90% of the things around you can't change, but the 1% or 10% that you can change, you can and you should, and that's what you should focus on. Typically rings true. The things you can change are usually the things that are important. I think I'm going to end this video with a clip from Jordan Peterson that's about a little less than 2 minutes that basically summarizes the point.
It's not an accident that the axiomatic Western individual is someone who was unfairly nailed to a cross and tortured. It's like, yes, right, exactly. So what do you do about that? Well, I thought about that for a long time too. It's like, well, you don't get together in a damn mob, because all that does is allow you to be as horrible as you could possibly imagine and suffer from none of the consequences. That's a bad idea. So how about we don't do that? Well, there's a deep idea in the West too. It's like, pick up your damn suffering and bear it and try to be a good person so you don't make it worse. Well, that's a truth. You know, I read a lot about the terrible things that people have done to each other. You just cannot even imagine it. It's so awful. So you don't want to be someone like that. Now, do you have a reason to be? Yes. You have lots of reasons to be. God, there's reasons to be resentful about your existence. Everyone you know is going to die. You know, you too. And there's going to be a fair bit of pain along the way, and lots of it's going to be unfair. It's like, yeah, no wonder you're resentful. It's like, act it out and see what happens. You make everything you're complaining about infinitely worse. There's this idea that hell is a bottomless pit, and that's because no matter how bad it is, some stupid son of a bitch like you could figure out a way to make it a lot worse.